Hey there, my name is Bill Marion, and this is A Nose for Life. On our last visit to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, right after we checked in our hotel, I started a live stream almost as soon as we walked in the door to our room. During that live stream, I decided to come back later and make a video about Mount LeConte. This is a view of Mount LeConte from the Park Vista Hotel in Gatlinburg. Now, I'm not sponsored, but it does have the best views of Great Smoky Mountains National Park. You can visit the Smokies your entire life, you can hike and fish in the Smokies your entire life, and still not know a lot about the mountains you love and visit. That's what occurred to me during that last live stream. I had a lot of questions about Mount LeConte. I was a little confused, and the answers to some of the questions I was asking aren't as straightforward as one may imagine. And I bet you have some of the same questions I did about this enormous mountain. I've spent a couple of weeks doing a lot of research so I could clear up some of my own confusion, and I think it's going to help you too. Or at least I hope it does. One thing's for sure, there is some amazing scenery in this video that I know you're going to enjoy. You're also going to learn a lot of facts about the Smokies. So if you love Great Smoky Mountains National Park, you're going to love this video. And just so you'll know I'm not making this stuff up, I've left links in the description. So go ahead and hit the like button and let's get started. When you're in this part of Gatlinburg, you are surrounded by Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Great Smoky Mountains National Park is the largest national park east of the Mississippi. It spans over 500,000 acres divided almost evenly between North Carolina and Tennessee. Most people access the park from Tennessee. So Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge, Tennessee benefit the most from Great Smoky Mountains National Park. And there's a real interesting story behind that, and it's full of intrigue. See, North Carolina was supposed to have more access to the national park over in Bryson City, North Carolina. You may have heard about the Road to Nowhere. I made a video about that years ago, and this summer I'm remaking that video because I've learned a lot over the past 7 or 8 years about that situation. There's a lot of political intrigue, missed opportunities, and well, it's pure comedy. Anyway, LeConte is a big mountain. At 6,595 feet, it is the 3rd highest peak in Great Smoky Mountains National Park and the 6th highest peak in the entire Appalachian Range. And unlike Kuohi, formerly known as Clement's Dome, Mount LeConte is the highest peak completely within Tennessee. It has the highest relief east of the Rocky Mountains, which means that when measured from its base to its summit, Mount LeConte has the greatest vertical rise of any mountain in the eastern United States. It has 1,361 feet of prominence. From its summit, the mountain descends an astonishing 5,280 feet to Gatlinburg within just 5.8 miles, a steeper drop over a shorter distance than anywhere else in the eastern United States. It's a big deal. Now, this might sound crazy, but I've talked to other people who, in so many words, say the same thing. It's so big, it's hard to identify. That might make more sense in a few moments. No matter where you are in Gatlinburg, it's right there. It's one of the first signs, be it a natural sign, welcoming you when you get off Interstate 40 and drive through the nightmarish traffic in Pigeon Forge. Obviously, Mount LeConte is a card-carrying member of the Southern Sixers, meaning it's one of only 53 mountains in the Southern Appalachian Mountains with an elevation over 6,000 feet. So, which one of these peaks is actually Mount LeConte? And that's where it gets weird and confusing. Mount LeConte consists of a long massif. A massif refers to the large, distinct block of mountain terrain that rises promptly from its surroundings. By the way, some websites refer to this as the Gatlinburg Massif, and that's fine, you can call it whatever you want to, Buttercup. So Mount LeConte consists of multiple peaks. From west to east, the first peak is called West Point, and obviously the creative team phoned it in that day. This peak is popular because the area around the peak is covered in a dense southern Appalachian spruce fir forest. The elevation of West Point is 6,356 feet. Cliff Top is the next peak with an elevation of 6,557 feet. It's known for stunning panoramic views and incredible sunsets. High Top is the next peak, and it's the actual summit of Mount LeConte. Its elevation is 6,595 feet. And I don't know what else to add to that. It's the top of the mountain. At 6,533 feet, Myrtle Point is the last main peak of LeConte. Like Clifftop, it's known for its spectacular views. Now, located on the far west end of the main massif is Balsam Peak. It's not one of the main peaks, but it's kind of important and iconic. Here's why. I'll explain that later. It has an elevation of 5,820 feet. There's also a lodge for hikers on Mount LeConte. It operates from spring to fall and accommodates up to 45 guests. It serves breakfast and dinner daily. It's the only hotel you can stay in within the national park boundary. The hotel, if you will, is partially supplied by helicopter drops. They do the heavy lifting. But a train of llamas carry the food, linens, and other supplies 3 times a week. The LeConte Lodge is not one single lodge, it's a large group of cabins, and it's close to the summit of Mount LeConte. The lodge sits at around 6,400 feet of elevation. And someone really needs to write some fiction with this place as the setting. You could go Bigfoot, aliens, or a whodunit. I mean, let me just ask, would you stay at a place like this? Now, don't forget, you have to hike to get there. On your next visit to Gatlinburg, ask 3 locals the names of these mountains, and most of the time, they'll tell you Mount LeConte, and that's a good answer. But then you drive 441. The road winds out of Gatlinburg in bumper-to-bumper traffic, and suddenly you're treated to this view of Mount LeConte, or Balsam Point, only that Balsam Point and Mount LeConte are the same. How can this be Mount LeConte if this is LeConte? Didn't I just drive an hour or more to get away from this location? Shouldn't I be east of LeConte at this point? Here's another example. Let's say you're at the Park Vista and you decide to go to Anakeesta like we did on our last visit. We ate at a restaurant there that had one of the best views in Gatlinburg. So what is this mountain? Didn't I drive away from Mount LeConte when leaving the hotel? Am I not facing a different direction entirely? Please let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced this in some form or fashion while visiting the Smokies. I know a lot of people who have, and I'm certainly not the only one. But it would be great if you would let me know in the comments. My point is that Mount LeConte is huge, and it's going to look different from every single perspective. This is LeConte, this is also LeConte, and this is Mount LeConte. And by the way, this is LeConte also. So when I say it's a big mountain, I mean it's a really big mountain. In a recent video I made about Newfound Gap Road, the scenic highway that traverses Great Smoky Mountains National Park, I said that Newfound Gap receives more snow than Mount LeConte. I jumped to a conclusion based on some data. I'll spare you the details, but there's no other way to say it. I was wrong. It's true that Newfound Gap gets a lot of snow for its elevation, but the peaks of LeConte get a lot more snow. Mount LeConte's weather is highly unpredictable due to its elevation. It's much cooler on LeConte than it is in the lower elevations of the Smokies. Now you have to remember this is the south, where it gets unbearably hot in the summer. But on Mount LeConte, summers are mild, with highs rarely above 70. But the winters are harsh. Mount LeConte experiences sub-freezing temperatures and 70 inches of snow annually. Mount LeConte also exhibits orographic lift, meaning it almost creates its own weather. There's lots of rain, dense fog, and strong winds, with winter gusts exceeding 50 miles per hour. Wild thunderstorms are common in the summer, and the weather can change rapidly. Over the past couple of months, we've talked a lot about elevation versus prominence on the channel. It's something mountaineers and hikers like to argue about. It's an interesting discussion that I enjoy. So consider this: Mount LeConte stands out among Appalachian peaks due to its broad, expansive surface area above 6,000 feet, making it one of the most dominant high elevation regions in the range. Unlike many mountains that peak sharply and descend quickly, Mount LeConte maintains multiple high sub-peaks, all exceeding 6,000 feet. This creates a vast plateau-like structure rather than a single peak. In comparison, taller Appalachian mountains like Mount Mitchell and Kuwohi have steeper slopes and less terrain at high elevations. So Mount LeConte doesn't have the prominence of Mount Mitchell, Kuohi, or Mount Washington up in the northern Appalachians. It's probably not going to be in the bucket list for any peak baggers, but it should be, because prominence doesn't always translate into significance. LeConte's sustained altitude supports one of the most extensive spruce fir forests in the southern Appalachians and experiences a true high mountain climate with colder temperatures, strong winds, and heavier snowfall. Its sheer mass and elevation make it one of the most geologically and ecologically significant mountains in the eastern United States. Recently, Kleeman's Dome was renamed Kuohi, and the Gulf of Mexico was renamed the Gulf of America. Wow, let's see where the comments go from there. Listen, there's enough in the video I'm working on about the name change in Kleeman's Dome to make anyone and everyone want to blast me in the comments. It's going to be a lot of fun, so make sure you're subscribed. Anyway, where in the world did LeConte get its name? It's so French. The naming of Mount LeConte remains a subject of debate and controversy. Imagine that, controversy. There's uncertainty over whether Mount LeConte honors geologist Joseph LeConte or his brother John LeConte, a physicist. I mean, it seems like it would be Joseph since he was a geologist after all, but John actually assisted geologist Samuel Buckley in estimating the mountain's elevation in the 1850s. Arnold Guyot, whose name comes up in our videos a lot, formally documented the name Mount LeConte during his survey of the southern Appalachians. Guyot was a really big deal, and he's responsible for much of the way we see and to some extent map out the Appalachians to this very day. But I think Guyot's either being canceled or he's on his way to being canceled. And speaking of being canceled, it's likely that Mount LeConte will be up for a name change real soon. Regardless as to which brother Mount LeConte was named after, there's a reason you don't hear much about them. They were both brilliant, but sadly they succumbed to the social sickness of the time. I'm going into a lot of detail about this kind of stuff in my video about Kuohi. I have a lot more research to do and another visit to the tallest mountain of the East, and I'm reaching out to YouTube for some guidance in how to present the information without the video being hidden because, well, the subject matter is so sensitive. So it's going to take me a few more months. But I will say that I hope you're subscribed and that you click the bell for notifications. You don't want to miss that video. I have a unique perspective, and I hope you'll give my historically accurate point of view a chance. Maybe I should have said this at the beginning of the video, but I'm not a Mount LeConte expert. I'm just sharing what I've learned. But I realized while making this video that if I really wanted to learn more about Mount LeConte, I needed to hike to the top. And so I did just that, and it was one of the best hiking experiences I've had. Let me put it this way. I've been going to the Smokies my entire life, but I didn't see the real Smoky Mountains until I hiked Mount LeConte. I'm making a video about that amazing experience. If that video has been released when you're watching this video, there will be a tab in the top right corner of your screen now. If not, make sure you're subscribed and click the bell for notifications. And by the way, if you know a lot about Mount LeConte, share some information in the comments. And if I got something wrong, share that too. If you've hiked Mount LeConte, please share your experience. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. Here are some other videos I know you'll enjoy. My name is Bill Marion, and this is A Nose for Life.